Antarctica, the most mysterious and least explored continent, with ice that hasn't melted for millennia, is indeed capable of revealing much that is new, even unknown forms of life. This southern continent is covered by a kilometer-tall thick layer of ice, but it hasn't always been this way. The history of Antarctica is far more enigmatic than it might seem, as there are facts that could overturn our understanding of the world around us and even of Earth's history as a whole. So, what has managed to remain hidden in Antarctica? Let's dive in and find out. Harsh conditions, low temperatures, and barren landscapes. That's how many imagine Antarctica. Nothing but snow and frost. Lands unfit for life, inhabited only by seals and penguins. But what if there are other forms of life there? Ones that are simply inconvenient to talk about. Today, we'll try to figure it out. Antarctica, the sixth continent of our planet, with its severe conditions and low temperatures, makes it inhospitable to humans. Yet this frowning continent is roughly 1.5 times the size of the United States. Imagine that. It holds a staggering 90% of all the ice on Earth. It's the coldest and harshest place on the planet. It might seem like nothing mysterious could be hidden here, but ice has a tendency to melt, and as a result, the secrets of the ice expose artifacts that could revolutionize our knowledge. After all, it's no coincidence that many countries are vying for the seemingly lifeless land. Perhaps they know something we don't. Let's start with the first discovery. It's hard to imagine anything existing beneath these thick layers of ice, but it's worth understanding that this is just a shell. What lies beneath remains unknown to anyone. One day, scientists discovered an entire network of underground lakes here. The first was found back in 1970 using radar, but now more than 400 such lakes have been identified. Can you imagine 400 lakes beneath the ice? And that's just the part we know about. One of them is a deep lake located in the eastern part of Antarctica. Incidentally, this is the very area that scientists have been trying to study for years, sending expeditions there. But what happens next remains authentically unknown. This lake lies 55 meters below sea level, and the salinity of its water increases as it gets deeper to the point where it's 10 times saltier than the ocean. This means the water never freezes, even though its temperature drops to around minus 20 degrees Celsius. But the most intriguing thing about this lake is that it's suitable for life. In other words, beneath this ice lies an ecosystem so developed that various forms of life could very well exist there, and they do. Scientists themselves have acknowledged discovering species of microbes previously unknown to science, bacteria no one had ever heard of before. Let me remind you, salt acts like a dome, shielding the area from environmental impacts. Extreme cold or climatic conditions beyond the ice layer don't matter as much because a separate world forms here. There was one incident in history that truly alarmed many people. Powerful light sources appeared beneath the ice, ones that no one could explain. These incredible reports baffled the governments of countries whose observation stations were operating in Antarctica. Scientists frantically reported bright flashes visible at night coming from beneath the ice. Arctic observers grew concerned for their safety, fearing something serious was threatening them and demanding urgent action. Reports mentioned not only light anomalies but also sound anomalies received from stations located near the last lake, Lake Vostok. Speaking of Lake Vostok, it's not so simple either. This lake lies beneath a 4-kilometer-tall thick layer of ice and never freezes. Thermal scanning results showed that the water temperature in the lake is surprisingly high. Listen to this: between 10 and 18 degrees Celsius. In a temperate climate, water doesn't always warm up to that level. Yet here we are in Antarctica. Agree, at such temperatures, something or someone could indeed live, and not just microbes or bacteria. Moreover, during the research, data revealed a hollow cavity about 800 meters high between the lake's water surface and the ice-domy space, with nearly ideal conditions for life. The question arises, Did nature create this, or is it the result of someone's deliberate efforts? Information about the latest research on Lake Vostok is officially classified, but it's known that in 2007, drilling was halted at a depth of 3,665 meters. It resumed years later, and on January 5, 2012, the Vostok station completed the drilling, reaching the surface of this subglacial lake. Afterward, they ceremoniously presented a vial of the water to the president, and then it stopped being mentioned on TV. But this is just a small part of the unknown. In fact, sometimes those curious about satellite imagery get a glimpse of these mysterious findings. Those who use Google Maps to explore our planet know that the maps are periodically updated, and after such updates, you can often spot something intriguing. I think it's worth paying attention to these objects, especially since they're not yet publicly accessible. For example, if you go to these coordinates, you'll notice strange objects. There's nothing around them, no one, just shapes protruding from the snow. These unidentified objects vaguely resemble a ridge. Notice the precise shape of the objects, as if they're part of something larger buried under the snow. Each segment of this discovered complex is at least 50 meters long. What kind of massive structure could be under the snow? Could it possibly be a giant ship? But how could a ship end up in the middle of Antarctica? For convenience, I'll duplicate all these coordinates in my Telegram channel, where I've already collected a whole assortment of such discoveries. You can study them yourself and stay informed, as I post the most important stuff there. Information online tends to disappear, and sometimes inconvenient details are deliberately scrubbed, so head over to Telegram and know what others only speculate about. The link will be in the pinned comment. I'm waiting for you. But back to the discovery. Agree, this terrain does resemble a Phaeton that doesn't seem entirely human. And again, there's emptiness all around. Perhaps no human has ever set foot here. Here's another find I managed to dig up online. Here are its coordinates, but if you check them now, you won't find anything. Discovery has been removed from maps. This object was spotted in early 2018, and people managed to take screenshots, which we'll look at now. We see waves with 4 elevations lined up one after another, each successive row slightly smaller and longer than the previous one. Perhaps this find is part of a structure, with its main body buried deep under the snow. The visible part resembles walls, with a continuous opening running through all the rows. Take a look yourself. Unfortunately, this object no longer appears on maps. It's gone, and over time, the objects described above will likely disappear too. So catch them while you can before the photos are wiped. I'll post the coordinates and screenshots on Telegram, and you can check them out there firsthand. Keep in mind that Antarctica is an isolated land. Planes don't fly here, and outsiders are strictly prohibited due to its harsh climatic conditions. This icy continent is perhaps the most mysterious place on Earth. It's incredibly difficult to truly explore. Yet despite this, the governments of leading countries spare no expense to establish a foothold on this land. Until 2000, an international team of scientists handled lake research from the American side. Then, the National Security Agency took over. Why would such agencies be involved there? A NASA representative stated that the switch was dictated by national security concerns. Later, they claimed the research was halted entirely for the sake of environmental safety. There were plenty of rumors. For instance, some say that back in 2001, the U.S. sent an expedition to the area equipped with drilling rigs and even heavy machinery for excavations. Of course, this didn't get confirmed in the media, but one American researcher wrote a book about it called Secrets of the Universe. Let's not forget that Antarctica was discovered in 1820, yet maps depicting it existed much earlier. Take a look. Here's a once green and flourishing continent. Moreover, The map details coastlines with incredible precision, coastlines of a continent that wouldn't be discovered for another 300 years. Most astonishingly, the map shows rivers and mountains without their icy shell. What's all this about? Many have heard that Germany in the last century meticulously tried to study Antarctica. At the very least, Hitler might have known about these old maps and all these discoveries. In the summer of 1945, 2 German submarines arrived at an Argentine port and surrendered to the authorities. It later emerged that at the end of the war, they had delivered Hitler's personal belongings and the Third Reich's most valuable relics to Antarctica. As it turned out, regular voyages between Antarctica and Germany had been established as early as 1938. Captives recounted that a secret facility, codenamed Base 211, was being built there. Over several years, geologists, specialists, and thousands of concentration camp prisoners were sent there, along with mining equipment, fuel, and food supplies. Later, prominent scientists and politicians reportedly arrived too. I'm sure you've heard about this after all. Even now, many notable figures visit the place. What could they possibly see there besides snow? Could someone have uncovered specific information about Antarctica? Quite possibly, but what benefit could this endless icy lands offer? What do you think? Be sure to leave a comment. I think this turned out pretty interesting, so subscribe and don't miss new videos.